of the things that we have learned recently, I remember that there was a particular video that was going around social media about a broken vessel that had gold in fillings in them. And the story, which is the story of painted vessels, is that whatever God has given you, whatever life has given you, whatever scars that you bear from the journeys of life, they are not to define you in the negative, but you can always turn them into stories that are beautiful, lessons that others can learn, and points where you can give glory. Sometimes those scars are like sacrifices that we offer to God in return, in recognition of what he has done for us. Remember, sometimes Paul will say that the suffering I bear now, the glory that is to come far outweighs the suffering that I bear now. So I bear in me the marks of Christ. The marks of Christ is not necessarily the beauty that we see. Sometimes it's the wounds that we have, the disappointments that we have, the betrayal, the failures, the things that scars us in a way. But those things, when we turn them and weave them into stories of God's faithfulness, of God's mercy, of God's grace, they are beautiful stories that help the next person, rise up, help the next person on their own personal journeys. So whatever scars you think you have, let's begin to look at them from the lens of stories, from the lens of beauty, from the lens of God's grace, from the lens of God's mercy, from the lens of something that God has turned beautiful. Because as long as we are alive, it is a testament to God's faithfulness to us. And the truth is, I've begun to learn recently that what doesn't kill you indeed makes you stronger. So that was Eli's journey. And Eli and Ada, after living with Jed and his family and the caravan for a few years, decided to grow, to go on, to create their own family and move to another state, because he was having the palpitation. When you have agitations in your heart, sometimes there are indications that you need to move to the next level. But one thing that was very critical in Eli's journey was that he always had this recurring dream. And that was what I read. Eli, will you tend my crop? And because Eli was used to like the nature, the forest, he thought it was actually planting gardens and growing food and all of that and using that to help people. But as when you get the book and when you read the book and you see as he goes through his journey, what God was actually saying, tend my crop. One of the things I learned at the end of the story, because one of the things that Eli did was to have an orphanage, to have a house that rehabilitates children that have been captured for child trafficking. One of the things that we begin to realize, your journey, your process, the things that you are going through or the things that you have gone through, that you've come out, sometimes is the purpose for which you exist. So remember when I said that Eli escaped, and when he escaped with Ada, he had a bag that he saw when he killed the guard that was with him. Inside that bag was a lot of money. I know in those days, because child trafficking was illegal, the means of payments were bonds. So bonds in those days were like, I don't know how, like money that you take to the bank, and it was said to, when they present the bond or the token or whatever then it was, then you get exchange in value for money. Now when Eli took that bag, the money in it was way over, let me just exaggerate to say in terms where we can understand it, well, maybe $100 million. And guess what? The bonds were not marked, because they were going to use it for illegal business. The bonds were not marked. The bonds were not traceable. So it was like a daché. It was like free money. It cannot be traced to you. It cannot be linked to you. Like whoever presents it, you find it on the way, you are the owner of it. Whoever presents it, it cannot be traceable on any level, because you know that it was going to be used for illegal means. And guess what? Jed took him to a banker, and the banker began to teach him how to multiply money, and he began to invest those monies and yielded more money. So he was rich, like when they say wealthy, like stinkingly wealthy, because he invested young. He knew how to do bookkeeping and record keeping well, and because they were living like a nomadic lifestyle, he didn't need money for much or for anything. So fast forward to a few years later, they are married and they are moving to a new town. They got to this new town, and because they are different, like a pious town, and because they were different, tattoos all over their bodies, because they live a nomadic lifestyle, long hair, all those things. And when you look at them, like, who are these strange looking people? And you know now how church folks or how religious folks can act very pious, not knowing that they're also struggling with the things that they're struggling with. And so when they began to interact with church folks, then they began to have problems because people refused to interact with them, suspicious of them. Where are they coming from? This is not how a lady should dress. This is not how a man should look. You know, that kind of thing. And they refused that they interact with their children or interact with the young ladies in the town. Now imagine someone who has been through the trauma of child trafficking, who has been living a nomadic lifestyle, who has begun to understand the love of God and the grace of God, meeting this kind of people who have no idea what their story is, but yet full on judgment on them. How do you think they will be? You'll be like, oh my God, you have no idea who I am, what I've been through, and the kind of God I serve. And their lifestyle began to show people that God truly is God. And you know, there was a particular guy in the book that had a farm, and he was like, you know how it is, the richest man in those days, because he had a big farm and he felt every other person was lazy. And he began to judge Eli because he thought Eli was not working, he was not doing anything, their house was specially furnished, you know, and all of that. And he began to feel that it is by works, you know, that I am hardworking, so I earn, so I have money, so I do things I need to do, so I can eat. And you know, people began to weave stories around because they could not understand the enigma of those two people. People began to weave stories around who they were, where they were coming from. Some people even said that they come to people's houses so that they can eat. And man was like, oh, you are lazy and all of that, not knowing that Eli was a rich, wealthy man, but he kept it under the radar. See, appearances don't matter, and do not judge a book by its cover. Because you see someone and you don't understand who they are does not give you the right to judge anyone, because the stories of those people and the journeys and the processes they've gone through and their relationship with God must not be an exact replica of your own relationship with God or your own journeys. No. But one thing I would admonish us to do is to seek to know. When you seek to know, you understand. When you understand, you know how to interact and how to relate with people. The truth is, people didn't understand his ability not to hold the things of this world so strongly. People could not understand how he could work and decide not to work. Do you understand? But the banker in that town, recommended by his former banker when he was with Jed, had said that man was a trustworthy man, and he told him, anything I do, please keep it a secret. And he became, like, in quotes, Secret Santa, helping people within the town. If somebody needs their house was going to be repossessed, he was able to pay the mortgage on that without even knowing. And that was amazing. I also learned something very important. How you grow is an indication of who you are now. And if you have habits, if you have ideals or ideologies that seem to be off, trace it to where you got it from and seek to make amends. I've learned in life that nothing is cast in stone, and the knowledge you think that you have now, there's always a better knowledge, there's always a more experienced approach to it, a different perspective to anything that we know. I think that seeking to know, seeking to understand, and seeking to allow yourself, gather from another person's perspective gives you a whole robust lifestyle and a whole robust view to what the world is about. And the truth is, knowing Jesus is not what we are told. Knowing Jesus is a personal walk and a personal journey. So I can assure you that Eli's journey with Jesus is different from Jed's journey with Jesus, different from the Pastor Marcus's journey with Jesus. Why? Because our life's journey are different. And the way our life's journeys are different is the same way we interact with God. So somebody that has been abandoned as a child and sees God as a father will also be different from somebody that has fallen in such a way that his life has just been, in a quote, useless for a long time until Jesus steps into their lives. So imagine when they're interacting with God from different lands, platforms, and different mindsets and different heart sets. Do you understand? So we do not have a right to judge. Instead, let's seek to know. And at the end of the day, God used Eli and Ada's pain to fulfill their purpose. So when God says, Eli, will you tend my crop? It was meaning the people that have gone through this thing that you've gone through, would you take them in? Will you tend them? Will you grow them? Will you groom them so that they become like you, better, painted vessels, and that they fulfill their own destinies and purposes? So I can assure you, sometimes some of the things that we've gone through in life may just be the purpose for which God has set you up for. You know that when they say there's purpose in pain, Painted Vessel brought it out to me in a way and in a dimension that really sunk deep within my heart. What have you gone through? What is that thing you think has made it a disadvantage for you in life? If you sit down with it and ask God, is this what you want me to use to tend your crops? You will discover there is purpose in whatever pain that you have gone through. There is always purpose in pain. The truth is, whatever you've gone through, there is a purpose. God will not give you more than you can bear. And the fact that we are alive, regardless of what you've gone through, means that you are stronger than that pain that happened to you. Okay, so there is this gospel musician I listened to, Terrence Wells, and there's a song, God, He never lost a battle. He never will. There's something he said. He said that God never, apart from God not losing a battle, God never wastes a battle. God never wastes your pain. God is aware of what you have gone through, and God can turn everything together for good if only we can see it through the eyes of purpose, through the eyes of His love, through the eyes of the things that God is taking you through the eyes of grace, through the eyes of mercy, through the eyes of His love for you, keeping and protecting you. God never wastes a battle, because every battle, every storm, every tragedy, every trauma, everything you've gone through, if you look at it through the eyes of God, it is a stepping stone to helping somebody else. So I want to ask you today, are you a painted vessel? Are you one that can use your pain to help someone? Don't relent. Don't stay in it. I know sometimes it's difficult to rise up from the scars and the traumas that we have, but let God use them as vessels. Let God use them as stories. Let God use them as platforms in which other people can be helped. Well, I hope you enjoyed my beautiful story. I love Painted Vessels. I give it a 5-star on Goodreads, and trust me, it has my heart. I'm waiting for the author's second book, and I hope you enjoyed this story. Have a good day, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and give a thumbs up for this video. Thank you so much. God bless you.